In just the first 3 months of 1872, John D. Rockefeller either bought out, shut down, or bankrupted 22 of his 26 Cleveland rivals. Not over 10 years, not over 5 years. In just 3 months, almost an entire city's oil refining industry was crushed, absorbed, or forced out of the way. And the frightening part is, most of them did not lose because they made bad oil. They lost because Rockefeller changed the game around them. This was the rise of a company so powerful that the United States government would eventually have to break it apart. This is how Standard Oil took over America. By 1870, Rockefeller was only 31 years old. He incorporated the company that would make him inconceivably rich and help usher in the modern age of oil. The company was called Standard Oil. Rockefeller's first major decision was simple but brilliant. While others chased exploration and drilling, he focused on refining. Searching for oil in the ground was chaotic. Refining was more stable, more measurable, and more controllable. And Rockefeller understood control better than almost anyone. This was Rockefeller's genius. He did not chase luck. He built a business where luck mattered less. He became obsessed with cost saving, waste reduction, and efficiency. Rockefeller was building a machine that could survive longer, sell cheaper, and pressure rivals harder than anyone else. He brought bright minds into Standard Oil and put them to work inside the iron-fisted engine room of the company. Standard Oil consolidated labor in-house, expanded into markets for refinery byproducts, and found profit in places other companies ignored. He could look at waste and see money. In Ohio, Rockefeller acquired fields known to contain sour oil. This oil was considered unusable because of its impurities. Most people saw a problem. Rockefeller saw an opportunity. He believed that enough money placed in the right hands could solve almost anything. So he turned to his research team. They found a way to remove the impurities, and what others had dismissed as worthless became another source of massive profit. Where others saw waste, Rockefeller saw margin. Where others accepted chaos, he built systems. Where others competed business by business, Rockefeller began thinking industry by industry. And then he turned that machine against his rivals. Rockefeller rapidly acquired smaller companies to expand his empire. He offered struggling refineries what he claimed were fair market prices. But in truth, many of those companies were already being weakened by the very system Standard Oil had built around them. By the time Rockefeller arrived with an offer, they were not negotiating from strength. They were negotiating from fear. Standard Oil did not just compete with rivals. It surrounded them. If they sold, Rockefeller absorbed them. If they resisted, Standard Oil could outlast them. If they weakened, he could make them irrelevant. His competitors were not fighting one businessman. They were fighting a system designed to leave them with no good choices. Then came the weapon his rivals could not copy, the railroads. Standard Oil's size gave Rockefeller an advantage almost no rival could match. He negotiated exclusive railroad discounts by guaranteeing massive shipments of 60 carloads of oil every day. These deals drastically reduced his transportation costs. And in the oil business, transportation could decide life or death. If your oil costs less to move, you can sell cheaper. If you can sell cheaper, you can pressure rivals. If you can pressure rivals long enough, they either surrender, collapse, or sell. Rockefeller understood whoever controlled the cost of movement could control the industry itself. Oil had to move. Refineries needed railroads. Markets needed transport. Rockefeller did not need to own every barrel immediately. He only needed to make sure his rivals paid more to survive. Rockefeller's influence stretched even further when he backed the Southern Improvement Company. It was an open plan to fix transportation costs. If it had succeeded, it could have given Standard Oil and its allies even more power over the movement of oil. But this time, the public was not on his side. Outrage spread quickly and the proposal was shut down. For one of the first times, Rockefeller discovered that even the mightiest tycoon could not always overpower a united public. People did not like him. Standard Oil became infamous. His oil empire was often compared to an octopus, with tentacles gripping not just the oil industry, but also steel, copper, shipping, and even the highest offices of the United States government. To its defenders, Standard Oil was efficient, modern, and brilliantly managed. To its critics, it was something darker. A creature with too many arms, reaching into too many parts of American life. But when a company becomes too efficient at crushing everyone else, the public stops calling it genius. But public hatred did not stop Rockefeller. By the late 1880s, Standard Oil's dominance was virtually complete. It controlled 90% of American refineries. The same dominance that made Rockefeller rich also made him impossible to ignore. Standard Oil had become too powerful to be treated like an ordinary company. The monopoly, combined with the scandal involving the Southern Improvement Company, created intense pressure on politicians. Facing public anger and re-election threats, they began passing antitrust laws and outlawing railroad rebates. Rockefeller avoided the press. He seemed to believe silence would protect him, but silence did the opposite. It made him seem more mysterious, more secretive, and more threatening. Journalists began investigating Standard Oil more deeply, exposing its underhanded tactics to the larger public. The more Standard Oil's tactics were exposed, the harder it became for politicians to ignore the anger building around it. Standard Oil was no longer just a business story. It had become a national question. How much power should one company be allowed to have? In 1911, America finally answered. The Supreme Court ruled that Standard Oil had violated the Sherman Antitrust Act. The company was broken up into 34 independent entities. The empire Rockefeller built was split apart by the government itself. On paper, this looked like the end. The monopoly had been shattered. The octopus had been cut into pieces. America had finally struck back. But the strangest part of the story is this. Breaking up Standard Oil did not truly destroy Rockefeller. In some ways, it helped him. The company was divided into separate entities, but many of those pieces remained deeply valuable. Rockefeller had built the machine, and even after the government cut it apart, the pieces still carried enormous power. The breakup was not the end of Rockefeller's power. It was the beginning of a different kind of legacy. Because after America broke his company apart, Rockefeller did something even more surprising. He turned from monopoly to philanthropy, from oil to universities, from ruthless business to public health. And in the next part of this story, we will see how one of the most feared businessmen in America tried to become one of its greatest benefactors, and whether that was redemption, strategy, or something far more complicated. Was Rockefeller a visionary, a villain, or both? But Rockefeller's story did not end with Standard Oil. When America broke his empire apart, Rockefeller did not disappear. He got richer, and over the next 100 years, the Rockefeller name moved into something even bigger than oil. Banks, universities, medicine, foundations, politics, and global institutions. The monopoly was gone, but the system survived. So how did one family stay powerful for generations while so many other empires faded? Part 3 reveals the system Rockefeller built after Standard Oil, a legacy so powerful, it still shapes the world today. Subscribe now, because this is where Rockefeller stops being just a monopolist and becomes a dynasty.